Thanks for tuning in. I'm Hannah. I'm a senior designer at Fiction Tribe. I'm speaking with James Rice, our very own CEO at Fiction Tribe. Our conversation will be focusing on how artificial intelligence is shaping the agency models and the future agency operations. Lots of great insights. Let's dive in.
Thanks, Hannah. Happy to be here. Good to see you in context other than Google Meet for our work.
Yeah, we work together, but we rarely have a chance to sit down and take a look at the landscape of the creative agencies as a whole holistically. So, very honored to have this opportunity with you. We sometimes see a lot of the top leaders are reluctant or having some resistance towards AI. That's definitely not our issue in our agency because you've been the strongest advocate to embrace something new. So I found that really amazing. Just an overview across our teams, how AI tools are integrated in um, each like service area. We have PM, we have account, a client relationship, or in development and the creative side.
Yeah, so I think I've been, for about 18 months, I've been very confident in the insights and massive research that can be done effectively with AI support. A great example is using Google's Notebook LM. Recently, now you can add documents for ChatGPT as well. But the ability to take a lot of content and process it, ask questions of it, use AI as an assistant on the strategic side, I think that points to a beautiful future. On the design side, I do believe that AI, and we've successfully shifted. Remember, I think 2 years ago, Hannah, I was like, why don't we start generating our own images? And there was some resistance about using AI and the ethics of it, which I totally understand. Our ethical point of AI is don't reference specific artists, right, or styles. So don't write a prompt that says, take this and put it into Studio Ghibli style, right? Define what that is. So think of yourself as an art historian to understand techniques and things. So I think with design, it was in 2024, we got rid of our Getty subscription.
Yes.
Because we feel that now we haven't fully gotten rid of stock, but we moved to Adobe stock, and the Getty subscription we will buy when we need. But I think we're using a lot of really good AI tools to enhance images that we shoot. Because the way I look at it is stock is in that messy middle. I'd rather take our own camera and shoot something or have AI do it. The stuff in the middle is not original either, right? So we still do a lot of live action production. I think that's key. In writing, I know that when we do writing for brand concept, campaign concept, taking that once you've written it and pushing it into ChatGPT to convert that to emails, social posts, all the kind of the more production side is very helpful. Also, as an assistant, it's pretty good in your concepting things. And we're using it like our research tool that we published recently, where you can just enter a URL and get fast research to build a creative brief. It's a great starting point. So I'm interested in AI for our customers to use it on their own. Our developers, we're seeing massive gains. All of our code base has been loaded into Misha's team in their Cursor environment and our GitHub environment. So it's trained on how we code. We're building components. We've reduced our cost of development by 70% in some cases.
I want to go a little bit deeper about the FT Minds, which is the large AI model that we built. What are some of the capacities of that?
I think when ChatGPT first came out, and then a couple months later Anthropic came out with Claude, what we wanted to do is get everyone on our team really equitable access to AI. In the early days of ChatGPT, we used the API, and so in our FT Mind, what we're showing is you can choose the model. We're buying API credits versus seat licenses, and you can choose between Claude or Mistral or ChatGPT in the models. And by doing our own FT Mind, our own version of an AI front end, it allows us to use API credits versus seat licensing, so our costs are much different. It's a playground for our team, our dev team, to launch out tools like you use, Hannah, like Flux Pro, and we've got the image generation model, Stable Diffusion, so we're able to bring those models to our team as well.
What's the inspired you to build our own AI models instead of using the current tools? I'm curious how it started and how it compared to using various tools to achieve our goals.
Well, I think early on it was for us to be able to see what we can do with AI in terms of UI, front end, how do we tune the back end. So it was more of our playground so that we could really understand it. It has become useful to our team, right? So now everyone has access to it. The ability to change models, now that's possible in ChatGPT, but we were able to do that long before. And so you could start a conversation in OpenAI's LLM. Mid-conversation, you could change over to Anthropic. And so that was, for us, really cool. But now you can do that, or at least change models within for us to go between Claude and OpenAI and ChatGPT has been really cool in one conversation. So things like that are why we built it. And then to support you, I know that you do a lot of image exploration for comps and mock-ups using Flux, I believe, right?
Yes, yes.
Because right now there are so many tools that I can get anyone anything they want. Like we talked about this morning, like there's a tool you need a subscription. But I believe like our Midjourney, when we got a Midjourney account for the team in August of 22, it was one account that everyone can kind of see the prompts of everyone and learn together. So that belief of being able to collaborate, co-create, and learn together is very key for why we've accelerated quite rapidly in our adoption of AI across the business by learning together.
I remember our first group meeting when Midjourney was still on Discord. We were trying to generate an image of a nail with great difficulties, but now I think everyone on our creative team could be a director, like directing our own shots, generating more curated visuals in less than 2 years, I would say. It's been really amazing on the creative side.
I love that you said, because one of my favorite lines is, and you said, everyone can direct their own shot. And that's how we should think, whether it's grabbing a camera or prompting and being a promptographer. Using someone else's content should not be our mission, right? Direct your own movie, direct your own shot. That is the power of it, right? As an art director yourself, the ability for you to get something exactly how you want it. And it's hard. Remember, it's taking longer, right?
Yes. And then I also want to share some insights that our content strategist shared with me. She no longer uses AI to write contents for her because it's churning what has been done and generated something new, which is not really new. So she used it for background research. And then what has been done by other competitors. So it's a great tool or assistant or even partner to filter out the noises and then really generate something gold. But this gold comes from her being more informed. I found that's really insightful. Since we talk about creativity, I want to go a little bit deeper on how, on the creative side, when the AI first came out, we were really concerned about AI replacing creatives. But I think we've passed that phase, and now we are thinking, what else can we do with it? Have you come across any resistance or challenges getting a team to embrace the mindset? And the other one would be, you ever doubt how to retain that creative edge versus AI adoption fully? So what's the bottom line there?
So I feel that, we can, at some point, automation will bring down the level of effort in any role that we have. So I always bring up the example of digital banner ads, right? Or display ads. You need 14 different sizes and different resolutions. And I'm like, I do not want my team doing that. That's a job for a machine, right? I want my team to think about what would be a great headline. What if we shot the photo this way? That's where we need to be thinking. AI is very good at taking direction, and once you really frame it up, and it should be doing the tasks that we don't want to do, the mundane. I feel where I think the creative edge remains, the threat of AI from my perspective is it's a really good mirror. It'll hold up a mirror to what the customer wants. And so we have to be on the lookout. Is the assignment something that they don't want to color outside the lines? That's where AI can literally be a replacement for humans. Mm-hmm. If somebody needs to think, and think about this, Hannah, when we're doing videos, we were kind of sharing some video stuff recently with VO and the Vertex stuff that we onboarded. Or that recent project where everything was AI from the image to the animations. In something like that project could color outside the box and AI became an imagination help, right? How else would we generate cities out of bricks instantly, right? That would have taken a lot of work in Blender or Cinema 4D. And so I think it's really opportunistic to rethink the content we're going to make, and that's where the creative edge is. Because when you're faced with the opportunity of I can do anything, that's an awesome place to be, but it's really difficult because like, what could it be? Because we have a reflex as creatives to go, oh, there's an image, I like that, and that inspires me to write it this way or design it that way. Now we're starting at a blank page. Now that opportunity is massive when you think about it, but it's extremely challenging to be faced with a blank page. And the creative edge, so that's it. A lot of things, I've got assignments where I can just AI my way to an answer, a script, a strategy, whatever, and the clients might be very receptive to that because they really want the mirror. They don't want to think outside the lines. And so it's good to bifurcate, really understand what type of project do we have, what does the opportunity look like, how will AI play a role? If it meant to be a mirror, great. That's a cost savings opportunity. If it's meant to be an inspirational thing, we can blow up a Maserati without buying a Maserati, and that's an awesome thing. So I think we need to rethink our creative in the new world.
I want to share an example of how our creative team is using AI to I would say enhance the creative, most importantly enhancing the communications to the clients, is that we use it for storyboarding. So it used to take a lot of manual sketches, but now we can dictate style and have really polished results in much, much shorter time before
Right.
we actually dive into a live shoot, live action. I don't know if how's the client reactions to our AI adoption, or what would be their expectations?
Well, I think the first thing you have to start with is there's 500 million active monthly users on ChatGPT. So we've always been transparent with our customers about it. In fact, I encourage it for them to do it. We had, I think, was it 7-8 months ago, a longtime client I've worked with for 20 years came in and said, here's my starter script for the video I want you to do. And I thought that was brilliant. I'm like, normally they would come and brief us and then we'd do the writing, but we could get right down to work. And the whole point of starting quickly is it helps with getting alignment for everyone in the room. We're responding to something versus the blank page, right? What could it be? And brief. And you're instantly getting into the brainstorming, that divergent mode of thinking, right? That's what I love. And the client who wrote that was like, yeah, it's not a script yet, but it gave me some detail about the product we're doing. I thought that was awesome, and then we could all actually get to making shit, because that's what we're here to do. It's not discussing and briefing. Like, that's all boring. Like, let's just get to start making, and that's okay. Be prepared to fail, and that was not a good idea once we comped it up. And we're transparent about it with customers. They definitely know that I'm all in on AI and ready to do that, and our team is so accomplished on what they're doing. I've been very impressed because it's not easy to stay inevitably curious about these new tools because there's a lot of still negative around AI, for sure, sentiment and otherwise.
It looks like it's a two-way communication. We were trying to using AI to boost our creative to communicate better with the clients, but actually clients would come into a workshop with something they already run through the AI model, not as final, but as a starting point. Like, I found this interesting. Would clients think agencies differently with some of them now feel that they can go into an AI model and do it by themselves? I think that's different from the previous example I mentioned, that they're ready to work with you and they brought something to start with.
So I think it's a couple things. First of all, the role of agency with brands has always been in question at different points throughout the cultural history. Most notably, I think it was about 20 years ago when Dell created an in-house agency in partnership with another agency, Enfatico. So you see a lot of in-housing for the last 2 decades. And the problem with in-housing traditionally was good creatives will go to an agency, bad creatives go in-house. That's not the case anymore. The last 10, 15 years, I think really highly talented in-house agencies have been developed. That's at play with most any organization. Now you add AI into that. Well, what was a B output can now be A, or a person that could only do ad layout is now writing headlines, or you know what I mean? Like, you're going to have this redistribution of skill sets. that does put agencies in a crunch because in-house can get better work and more of it with AI. So the role of agency needs to be of that outside perspective, challenging the assumptions, pulling in the research, and then trying to find and thread the needle for a new story to be told. In-house is always going to be busy, no matter how much AI is at play. I mean, I had a customer recently that they're using Jasper.ai, I believe, or Copy AI, one of them, that does ad resizing, and it's a total mess. And I know why it's a mess, because they're just taking the ad as a photo, full photo, and so it's framing it all messed up each time, right? And I was like, what you need to do is like the ads you did where you have a solid background and an object. It's responsive ad design, and they're not doing it, so the system will fail. So I think there's still a lot of education that clients need. But yeah, I think the impact will be on agencies, but a lot of people I talk to, think about this, Hannah, you and I think it was 5 years ago or something, we implemented Canva for a customer, right? And they were so excited, and they stopped calling, like they could do their own Twitter background and all that. I was so excited. It was about 6 months later, they were like, can you just do it for me? You know what I mean? And I think that people need help on where do I start? And you're starting at a lot of blank pages with AI. And people need help on the blank page.
Speaking of in-house agencies, do you think with the AI will be more productive? Do you think that will impact the independent agencies getting work?
Yeah, I mean, you have to realize I don't see it just as brands either. The entire world, no matter who you are, it's free access to ChatGPT and other models, right? The entire world is getting more creative, right? So we're going to see a lot of, because everyone's getting more capable. And I think that's pretty awesome. Anyone can vibe code something or generate a photo. Agencies, I believe, you want us to stay small, nimble, and independent. You have to be on the forefront and be transparent with clients about here's where automation can help your business, and automate ourselves out of a job on purpose. I think that's okay. What we replace it with, like I said, is outside perspective, threading a needle for a new story. And then lastly, it's new techniques. So while somebody's working on VO3 right now and how to prompt it, that doesn't end. And you have to constantly be learning. So I'd rather have a team where we just have to keep learning the latest stuff so we can outperform using AI and our imaginations together when anyone else is doing. That's the role of any creative. I think it's going to take the top 5% of creatives with AI, and you can do so much more, right? So the lower end creatives, I think, will have a problem for sure. I hate to say that, but if you're playing with AI, you're very capable. You can just do more stuff. So keep your imagination thriving and you're going to be fine.
I want to shift the focus to the individual talents
Okay.
because there's so many tools coming out now almost every week. Everything we just talked about, if we ask the same questions again 6 months later, it could be a total different answer. For me personally, as a creator, I feel anxious of not being able to keep up and to adapt to the future market as a creative. So what's your take on that, and what advice would you give talents? Not just in creative
Well,
team, but anyone who works in an agency.
I mean, I will tell you with firsthand experience, Hannah, for 2 years I audit 2 to 3 tools a night. And I create an account, I play with it 5 minutes, 55 minutes, whatever it is, and just to know where it's headed, what it could help us in, right? So auditing tools, but you have to really vet these tools like strategic hires, right? Where that's why when we release models on our FT Mind, we've got the Imagen 4 models for the team and different, like you guys have access to the ones that we feel are right. And our team does a really good job. Hey, we've chosen Runway, we've chosen Midjourney in our tool set. We've got Topaz, Enhancer.ai for skin. Like we're building our own tool set and things come in and out of that. I think as a creative, you have to jump in with both feet. And if you're not following YouTube tutorials or TikTok tutorials, you have to learn this stuff. Like the education has gone in a steep ramp, and firsthand knowledge, it is so hard, and I've lost my mind around it in some cases, right? But that's what it's going to take. And I don't think that's any different from when I was 22 and the internet was coming out in 95. It was like, we got to build this thing. We don't know what it is. And we had to learn everything at once. So I think every generation has its moments where keep learning. There is no shortcut to it. You just got to say, this is the future I'm going toward, and I need to put some potential to it. Colleges are doomed. College makes zero fucking sense anymore, right? Because it's like, just learn all this stuff, because whatever you learn is irrelevant in 30 days. Just the curiosity mindset, what matters.
Are you doing anything on a regular basis with maybe senior leaders in our team to workshop on AI in the future trends or tools?
Well, as you know, we started 3 years ago or 4 years ago that Future Transformations series. So every Friday, someone will give a presentation on things we're working on. I've demoed a lot of tools over time. I think
Yeah.
early on, people were like, I'm not going to pay attention that much because I'm not going to use AI, right? Early on, I think there was some mental resistance to it. So I need to do more on those Fridays because I realized working with Anna recently, we hit almost a wall on prompting for imagery, and we need to cross this new chasm. And that's going to take people working together, co-creating. So I think we can't stop the training of our team. I want to educate everyone relentlessly. And I thought I've set the tone so that everyone should realize what they're facing and to learn, because I think it's on people to learn. I know we give a lot of projects that allow people to learn in the space and time, hopefully, to learn on the project. But yeah, it takes a lot of effort. And so I think our Future Transformation series on Fridays is very helpful to that. But it doesn't really become real until you get a project that's using it. So like the Akamai one, right? That came in, it's like, hey, we can do this whole thing end-to-end AI from code to visual to animation. And then we're learning on the job and tuning. And you generated 200 images for some of those things, you know what I mean? To find the
Yeah.
right one. That's okay, man. That is all right with me. Because you're
Yeah.
learning.
I almost ran the same prompts across all platforms to get to know them,
Yeah.
almost like
Awesome.
a new partner. So when a project comes, I know what to delegate to. Now I'm trying to get used to this process.
Yeah, and when you bring that up, I think I've been doing a lot of thinking. We have to choose projects with intention. Where can AI be helpful? Where can it be automated? Which is more of a difficult conversation because we don't have a lot of consistent, repeatable inputs and repeatable outputs.
Yep.
In some cases, we do, and I think there's one thing that's been on my mind is how I can reward experimentation internally. Because I think you still have to have that curiosity mindset, but the ability to fail. And early on, when we were sharing Midjourney images and some were funny or whatever, like it was almost like we were poking fun at it. It doesn't take long until the quality is there. We finally passed the fool test of our ECD. That was 3 weeks ago, right? Where he was like, no AI image will ever fool me. But we broke that, so we broke the Turing test. Yeah, trying to make sure people have access to the tools, the time to learn them, and then to really pick the right use cases before we invest too much process time or automation time. Because I don't want to just automate everything. I want to get rid of the shit work, the production stuff.
Right.
I want my team to be thinking at their highest level and living in blank, because that's ideal. And so we will have an initiative this year shortly in the fall, Hannah, where what can we truly automate of the production work? What's routine in your job? Anyone across the board. What's routine that you wish you didn't have to do? Now, sometimes routine is our mental break too. You know what I mean? Like, just want to have the instruction to lay this out as a good mental break from hovering above white space all day. Anyway, we're going to pick those projects with intention.
That's interesting. I recently watched this YouTube sessions of an AI coach. He ran a workshop with employees in national parks, I believe, or similar workers in travel facilities. This is not the group that you think would use a lot of AI, but one of them thought of the pain points of his work. He coded something that would tremendously reduce his time spent on very mundane admin tasks. And it's adopted throughout their entire organization. Imagine the
That's all.
time collectively they're going to save with
Right.
this 45-minute work. So I believe we can do something similar. It must be something mundane in everyone's work, even if we work as a creative agency, that we can
Absolutely.
optimize on.
Yeah, well, the other thing that brings up, that story you shared, I'm going to go look that up, is this idea of vibe. We can vibe code, we can vibe design, we can do, and I struggle a lot with it because there's an ongoing conversation now of, is Figma even relevant when you can go to Lovable, you can chat GPT your way, AI your way to a UI design, right? And I kind of feel odd about that. So I think there's the idea, though, that what happened in your story is someone just said, hey, I want to do this, and did it. Now, that's the awesome power we have. If any idea you want, you can at least get it to 75%. You know, it's touchable, you can see it, whether that's a website, a video. Like, at least you can get the idea expressed. It's not high caliber, right?
Yeah.
The code's not great, the video's kind of chunky, whatever. But you can at least express the idea more fully than before when you had to rely on other people and their schedules. Like, so it's the idea of thinking fast and creating even faster to get to that first step. So what that guy did is like, we need to fix this problem. In the old days, they would have had to put out bids, 15 RFPs, 12 months later, they're going to get this started, and then 2 years after that, they'll have their tool built. No, man, let's just, if we have an idea, let's play it out right now in the moment. That's what's cool.
So in the ideation, you could use the AI tool, but when it really comes to refinement and making a right creative decision, you still need the expert. That sounds like, is that the right
Yeah,
mindset?
I mean, I think, yeah, well, I don't want to totally abandon the idea that AI doesn't have a role, a potential role early in the process. So, for example, if brainstorming, if you're kind of getting stuck, AI can play a role to get you unstuck, right? With some iterative prompting and chain of thought, and you can, there's some interesting things you can do there. It's not that it doesn't play a role early on; it's that depending on the situation, where is it most valuable to me as the person commanding it? Do I sometimes? I mean, I just did a prompt the other day, and it took me 48 hours to get the answer, right? Because it was scouring my HubSpot or whatever. And I was like, oh, I can just do that by filtering HubSpot and pulling that list. And I was like, why would I ask AI to do that? So it fails a lot in terms of like what it can do. And, the promises are way up here and the reality is sometimes down here. Sometimes it's up there. But
This is the question I'm very excited about. What are the opportunities you see for independent agencies in the future? Major shifts, but mostly new opportunities you see.
I mean, I think the two things I'm excited about are rethinking creativity in a world where you have unlimited budgets, and I'm talking specifically like generative video. When you have the ability to imagine any scene, any character without all of the complexity, right? It'll change our storytelling dramatically. Right? We don't no longer need $1 billion Marvel budget to do some of the things. Now, we're not there today, but speaking time horizon, right? And that imagination needs to be honed ourselves, right? Because we always think in terms of our physical space of what can be done, right? Or budget or whatever. So it's going to change dramatically how we present ideas for brands, which I'm enthusiastic about it. I think the second one is the opportunity for indie agencies is to think about still your tentpole content. You're going to need to guide a story. And people need good guides, right? Imagine us all as guides. And that's what we need to do. We can open the imagination wide open, blow it open. But two, imagine tentpole content that's highly produced, real actors, real cameras, real sets, all that. What do you do to keep that TikTok feed going? You need derivative content. And I think that's where AI can help build from really good idea. It can help build more content, but still smart. Don't just make more for more's sake. But the ability to make a lot of really cool stories is pretty fascinating to me. So I think those are the opportunities. That's how I see it. I'm super excited about the video stuff. I think the insights and research agencies should be doing already. There's no excuse. You can provide better insights and research right now at no time at all, right?
Any potential risks do you see for independent agencies as AI continue to evolve?
Well, I think, AI was not the real tipping point for indie agencies when it came to getting assignments. And I think the tipping point happened if we go back to like Upwork, Fiverr, where what that ushered in was hiring really good specialist studios, right? Oh, I need an animation studio, I need a 3D studio, I need just a brand narrative studio. And I love that this was, well, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, but I love that tipping point happened where in-house teams were starting to go, oh, I can get a really good person here. And they understood the frustrations with Fiverr and Upwork and those kind of platforms. At first, it was a cost savings thing. Then you could find experts. But now I think you're going to see that rise of very specific studio models that have a collective taste, a collective process, and that they're AI friendly and they do a very good, a few things really well. If you're going to start out, what is it that you do really well? And keep honing that skill if you're starting out.
A specialized studio.
Specialized. Because if you offer everything it's just a mess. And we're getting even, we have a multi-studio model. I believe in that future where you get really good specialization and build up those disciplines.
That's interesting. Anything you would like to share or any advice we haven't covered that you would like to share?
Probably that the AI hype is exactly that. And I'm part of the Gartner hype cycle, I'm sure, for 30 years. But the AI hype is unlike anything I've ever gone through, except potentially 94, 95 with the rise of the internet. Its hype is just fucking nuts. And there's a lot of promises being made, and I think customers feel that it's an easy button. Easy equals less time, less money. That's not true if you're not an expert in it, right? I know I can get less time, less money for specific functions of a process, but that's because of years of working on this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the easy button is probably a promise that people are going to find a lot of frustration with. And I think the other advice is AI is still making shit up. Don't fool yourself. It is still making shit up every day, whether it's visual or verbal or code. Like, it just drifts. The hallucination problem is real. I don't see us overcoming that, to be honest. And, week by week, it gets worse. It gets better, then something breaks, and then it gets fixed. So I think just removing the hype is what you really have to do. Whether you're a practitioner, you're a potential customer, you're a brand, just don't buy into it. There's a ton of fucking snake oil, ton of promises out there. And it is hard work, as you know, Hannah. It'll take you 300 tries to get that perfect image or whatever. Now
Yes.
over time, you're going to get it in 20. And that's awesome. But I would hate to start back at the front 2 years ago and think of the Hannah 2 years ago and where you've evolved today, right? Or myself, right? So, I think I've done over 10,000 mid-journey images, right? A couple weeks ago, I crossed that mark, and it's like, what did I do all that for? It's just to kind of learn it myself, but now people can learn from those prompts, right? So,
Yeah, these are great insights. A lot to digest.
I hope they're helpful. One of your questions was, how should agencies define their unique value prop when AI tools are accessible by anyone? I just want to make sure I answer this correctly because we have a lot of conversations around it. Is the value prop of any agency, and think about the word agency. I think the opportunity for agencies is that you have a collection of people. And, we use the word tribe in our name, Fiction Tribe. People together create things together. So the biggest advice I have, and remote work, I get the value of remote work, but I hate it. Because there's nothing better than when people co-create. And I think when we can co-create over Zoom, but make moments for your teams to truly co-create. And what's the thing that we bring uniquely together because of our people? Not because of the names on the door, but what we're all working on. Hannah, when we had that thing a couple Wednesdays ago and everyone weighed in on work they did, I was looking at the stuff going, holy smokes, we're solving some really intriguing problems with some really innovative ways. And you can't put that in a proposal. You can't, it's just the culture, the fabric, we're here to break the fucking ice. You know what I mean? We're here to crush it. That's the biggest thing is your value proposition is of your team and how they work, but it's so hard to capture that in a paragraph or a video, all the things that are happening. And everyone's going to have creativity is going to go through the roof. You're going to see a lot of shit, a lot of slop or shit, but you're also going to see some really good stuff come out. And that's the value prop. Hey, wherever you're at in your journey, so maybe a client is comfortable doing this with AI, but they'd love to do that, or they don't know how to get here. Be that bridge, right? So, but it's not about getting briefed and then coming back, here's your concept for the whole campaign. I think it's about iterating with them in the room, with AI in the room, and they're just watching it happen. Don't put the black curtain up, right?
Yeah,
There's no wizard behind the curtain anymore.
I think creativity and evolving doesn't stop at the brief. It's that process of reiterating. And then I think the center of those iterations are still human, not tools.
So yeah, I think that's. I mean, it's a cool future. You're excited about it, aren't you?
Yeah, I was scared to be honest. I was not an early adopter, but I
Well,
feel anxious but excited at the same time.
I don't want you to feel anxious. I want you to feel curious.
I
Let's
know.
replace anxiety with curiosity. Yes.
Yeah, but curiosity is really the center of all these. Like I want to know what can be done. And I think that's the mindset the all the talents who wanted to work in this industry needs to have for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think this is that. I think it's much faster now, the rate of change, but we've always had change. You know what I mean? Like, one of my favorite stories is at ILM when they were doing Jurassic Park. The original Jurassic Park was going to be animatronic dinosaurs. There was a team working on CGI, and the animatronic guy was in there controlling all the dinosaurs doing it, and they shot footage, and then the CGI team showed what they had, and it was amazing. Well, the guy who was the puppeteer, essentially, they built him a rig. This is back in the 90s, right? They built him a rig so that he could still puppet 3D dinosaur so it walked with that realism. And I was like, that's where we're at. That moment right there is, hey, there's still a bridge, and that core expertise, I can't, at the time, they didn't have AI models to make the muscles work or whatever. So his human moving of that's where we're at today. We got to recognize the value. The human is awesome, but we're coaching this thing. We're coaxing it, right?
Hmm.
We got to push it to its limits.
Hmm.
And then we have something to offer the world. We know what it can and can't do.
Yeah, these are really great conversation and insights. Thank you for sitting down with me and offer some great insights to the world.
Yeah, well, I love chatting with you, Hannah.